Okay, we're going to continue our DynamoDB discussion about how DynamoDB can be used for AWS Connect Contact Center. So I'm going to go through the motions of just trying to do some analysis, trying to figure out what I need as far as design in DynamoDB. And so looking on the web and looking at certain things, there's questions I ask myself, but first I just look at each so-called table. Okay, so yeah, I could have an agent table, a customer table, I could have an admin table, I could have a queue table, I could have all these different things, but I'm doing single table design here. So really what I want to do is say, okay, what are the agent attributes here and what do I really need? Okay, so when I'm searching for an agent, right, I'm maybe searching for certain things like is the agent online? Is it offline? Is it um, talking on a call? Whatever it may be. So you have this, you have attributes of the agent. You want to know if the agent's available. You want to know, if the agent's on vacation, etc. So there's attributes I could use here. Right now, I'm just taking a couple of attributes. So if I look at them, I have agent ID, um, which is a string. Agent availability is a string. Agent skills. Now, I did this a little bit different. I said agent skills is, there's language preferences, right? So I made a list of string for agent languages that they support. And then I said agent skills, maybe certain products or technical skills or business skills or sales skills, whatever it may be. Um, and then, like I said, there's agent status, online, talking to a customer in a chat. Um, And so when you think about this, you're thinking, okay, I got to design this table. What am I going to be searching for? If I'm looking for an agent, I'm going to be searching for the agent. By what? By the user ID, by the agent ID? What am I searching for? So I take I take a single table design and I'm thinking that what I'm going to do is say my primary key is going to be agent pound agent ID. And the reason why I'm doing this agent pound, or as ugly as it looks, is because I could distinguish between customer pound and agent pound. And these user IDs might be unique. The user ID, the agent ID could be the user ID, the customer ID could be the user ID. But what I'm trying to do is trying to query as efficiently as possible. So I could call my first column on my table a primary key, and I could call the entries like this could be an agent. This agent with the username could have attributes. A customer with a customer ID, although that customer ID is a user ID, it could have a different set of attributes. So I might be querying one versus the other. So, and the other thing I realized with the primary key is that I'm spreading the agents and the customers across different nodes, let's say. So when I do a search for agent, sort by a sort key, I'm looking at a node which has agents and I'm sorting, and so I'm doing it very efficiently. At the same time, if I have a primary key, which is customer ID, then my primary key is different, and it could be spread on to a different node, and I could be optimizing my reads and writes, etc. So there's some knowledge behind the scenes that you need to understand when you're doing this. But even if you have that knowledge, it's still hard to understand what to really do. And so when I think about this, one thing I'm doing is saying, forget about the instance alias. I don't care about it. I'm going to have one connect instance on my production environment. Therefore, my primary secondary keys, um, I don't have to point to an instance first before I get an agent. I'm just getting an agent by username. I'm getting a customer by username. So that's the decision I made. Could be wrong. Let's see how it goes because I'm going to follow up with a real DynamoDB design and implementation. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so now when I look at that, I think of agent access patterns. And so my Connect contact center is creating an agent, right? So the admin user could create a new agent. It's a high priority because we need to create agents quickly when the queues are full and the performance of our contact center uh, gets dampened. Okay, so that create is a write. You're writing a single item. The key attribute is username. Now, let's for simplicity just talk username because in reality, you do have usernames and you have credentials for those users, and it could be an agent, it could be a customer, it could be, but there could be other types of IDs that you might want to use, like if an ID comes from Salesforce versus an ID coming from some other source, you might want to use that, but don't mean to muddy the waters here. So when you create a profile, there's no filters and there's no result ordering. You could update an agent profile. Once again, you're just doing an update. Um, this priority is medium. Um, I say medium. It could be hard depending on what you're doing with agents. If you if you're moving agents around and changing their profile from one queue to another, it's still important. But anyway, let's just say it's medium. It's a write. It's a single item. The key attribute is username, and the filters. I have here username equals current user. Um, and let's not pay too much attention to that for the moment. I'm just trying to first look at the access patterns. I'm creating an agent profile. I'm updating an agent profile. I'm getting the profile. Now, I could also have here, I'm searching an agent with certain skills. In that case, uh, I'm searching an agent pound agent ID. That is a username in the agent records that has a skill. And suppose that the skill is the language is German. I might not have too many of those that support German language. So I'm searching for that agent, and then I would also probably need to know what profile he has and what queue he's at, so I could redirect to the proper queue, um, etc. All right, let's move on to something else. So this is what I call access patterns. Now, figuring out what table you want, what the column headings are, is another challenging thing. Because there's a lot of different ways you could do that, and at the same time, I don't capture everything here, so I'm trying to give you the simplest example. Um, and and so just keep that in mind as well. If I create a table, a read-only table, that represents global settings or something like that, then yeah, I would look at the different attributes that I would query on, and I would list those access patterns appropriately. Okay, let's look at the customer. Now, once again, we're brainstorming here. There's nothing concrete in stone yet, but I'm going to try to make this real later. So I'm thinking, okay. So customer. Okay, now when I first searched the web to find out what's the best DynamoDB design or table I could use, I showed you this slide before, and it was like user, and I was like, well, wait a minute, user. That's very possible. But there's going to be a lot of customers and much less agents. And so if I search for agents, I don't want to be searching through all the users. So This is why I now say, okay, for customer, I just want to zoom in on customers. And my primary key could be customer pound customer ID. Now, once again, this could be username, but if it's prefixed with a customer pound, it has a different string value. It's customer pound Steve B or something like that. So the bottom line is that it is a unique key because the username's unique. So not only am I distinguishing between customer and agent, I'm also making this whole string value unique. It's a unique primary key. And so just keep that in mind. And like I said, so far I haven't really done anything that concrete. So, but what are my customer attributes? I got a display name. I got a customer ID, and this is where you could have a Salesforce ID. Is it the same as your user ID? You have a phone number. This is the critical thing. The user has a phone number, and they called in using a particular phone. So the question is, what phone? What phone can I call them back on? So you want to store that information. Now the customer, you're searching by customer. You got to decide, are you searching by the customer's name, the customer ID, the phone number, or the email? So that's still up in the air. And then there's a dialed number, right? Which I'm assuming is at the moment. This is the contact center number called by the customer. So I can have multiple numbers, and I basically allocated one in my simple contact center. So I'm using one phone number. So this should be standard. It's on my contact page, and I see that number. Okay. Then there's account details, and this is when things get really, creative, because you want membership level, account type. Uh, what do I have here? Let's look at the healthcare industry, right? What kind of account type do I have? Is it a healthcare account, a car insurance account? Is it a dental account? So we don't know. We don't really know. So anyway, the account details can be listed, and so if I am in a problem domain, let's say healthcare, and I do have Salesforce and I have contact information, I may have some information there that's useful in AWS that I could put into DynamoDB, that I could use into DynamoDB. Now keep in mind that with customer profiles, as records get modified in Salesforce, they could funnel into some data lake, and I could be updating DynamoDB very frequently, or when the customer calls in, his record in Salesforce could come in, and I could be updating DynamoDB at that point in time. So there's different scenarios there. And then we got things like preferences, and like I said, I just put language here temporarily, but a user can specify preferences. And then there's a queue position. So if the queue position is not optimal, I could send the wait times. I calculate the wait time and send them a message with the wait time, um, either through a workflow or through a chatbot or whatever it may be. But once again, brainstorming, trying to figure out what's my customer attributes and what is my access patterns. So I'm just listing a couple of access patterns here. I do create a customer profile. Um, and this is kind of an interesting thing because where did you create the user profile? Is it in Okta? Is it in LDAP? Is it in, when did this happen? How did it happen? Is it in Salesforce? But we want to get it to DynamoDB, so it's a write. We're writing this into DynamoDB, and depending on when we get it, how we get it, when we want to write it, we're going to write it. The key attribute is username, but it's a customer. So it's a customer pound username ID or whatever it may be. Um, and and then we've got update customer profile. It's high. You're always updating the profile with a right. The reason why I say this is high is because it's happening very frequently. As soon as you update customer contacts in Salesforce, it's going to get updated, and the right pattern, the update profile in Amazon Connect is going to be high. Um, and then of course the get customer profile. You're always getting it. It's reading a single item with username. You're getting a customer username. And then I have this little example down here where you're searching customers with a large wait time. So it's something that's of interest. There's something of redirecting it to another queue. Um, it's analyzing the importance of this customer who's called 10 times, who's getting upset and not happy with service, and being able to look at the queue position and doing something about it. So just an example of customer access patterns. Um, and so let's move on. Okay, and then there's a queue. Okay, and with a queue, you're right. I might want to look at queues and see how many users are waiting, what the wait time is, how many agents are in the queue, whether the queue is for a particular language, depending on what it is. Okay, so once again, I might want the primary key to be this Q pound Q ID. And what that means is I could search for queues using a primary key. I could search for agents using a primary key. I could search for customers using a primary key. And the way I want to sort these things is the way I want to sort them. It's secondary to what I'm trying to do here right now. But a queue can have a Q ID, um, and that could be the unique identifier. So this would uniquely identify queues. The agent ID is unique identifier for an agent. Now we are missing something here, right? Because um, there's profiles that attach the agent to the queues, and when we didn't list them here at all. But let me just move on with this and say, yeah, here's a queue. Here's the queue profile. Here's an agent that has that queue. Blah 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 blah. And then there's a contact ID for the contact in the queue. What is that? Is that the username, or what is it? The phone number? What is it? It does, at the moment, I really haven't decided yet. Let's say it's the user ID. And this is also the user ID, let's say. And they're referenced using a certain string pattern. Um, this is a call state, the current state of the call. It's waiting, it's in queue, it's connected. Um, And this is the start time, the timestamp when the call was added to the queue, and this is a number. This is the wait time, the duration the call has been waiting. It's a number, and this is a priority of the queue, right? So English could be higher priority than Spanish, and so it could be the language of Spanish would still redirect at a higher priority to the English, and if a lower priority is Spanish, then it would default to the Spanish queue. Um, but these are things you have to think about. Okay, now the queue access patterns. Once again, I'm going through an exercise. Hopefully, this will amount to something, but just give you an idea of the effort that goes on to design and try to understand access patterns so you could optimally design your database table. Because you want it to scale. So you should go through these steps. Okay, so we create a queue, and once again, there's a key attribute when you create a queue. You update a queue with the queue ID, you get a queue with the queue ID, so there's writes, there's reads. And then if you want to search queues with no wait time, or search, anything like search queues where an agent has a specific um, skill set, then you could start defining what you're going to do and how you're going to access. Right now, I'm really just the only thing I could tell you with my contact center, the only thing I'm concerned about is at the moment is client contacts, contractors information, location, the phone numbers, the emails. I want to link up, customers with service providers. I want it to be efficient and fast, and I want the customer to get what they need. So my patterns might be different, but just keep that in mind. Okay, now there's this call history. That was another table that I think AWS was recommending, and so this is kind of important for me because like I said, when a customer calls in, I got that phone number. That's the first thing I get. They're calling in with their phone. They're calling into one a contact center phone number, which I don't really care about right now. I only have one of them. So what I really want is if 10 people are calling me and I can't answer the phone, or if I don't have agents, I want it to be self-service. I'm going to call them back. And as a matter of fact, to go a little step further, I want the customer calling, and I'm going to, with Alexbot, ask them information and fill slots and try to get as much information as them. Now, it would be nice if I knew exactly, okay, they're calling from this phone, and okay, if they're using the website and they're chatting, where are they geographically? If they're using the phone number, where is this customer located? It's state of Connecticut, Massachusetts. I don't know. So this is the information that is going into the call history. But people, different organizations use this information for different reasons. I'm kind of zoomed in on, you know, self-service and trying to get as much information about the customer and give the customer as much information about a company that's doing service for them. But anyway, there's a phone number, the caller phone number, and there's a caller ID, it's a unique identifier for the call. I, I, I I think this might be the contact trace ID, but I'm not sure. But either case, there's a different caller ID or voice ID. I forgot what this is, but there's different things. You might not need it. I think the last time I was on a project, we weren't even using the voice ID. But then there's a start time, a timestamp when the call started, and end time. And the agent that the customer talked to, and like I said, in self-service, there might not be an agent. With the agent answering the phone, they called, an agent answered, and now the customer's calling another two times. Why isn't this customer getting problem getting resolved? You start asking these questions. So the duration of the call disposition, um, what happened? The call was resolved, was it transferred, left the message, recording path. This is the S3 path of the call recording if enabled. Um, and so there's this call history, I'm going to say virtual table that I might want to be accessing and customizing. Okay, now access patterns, right? Uh, once again, create a call. Uh, and this can be updating. This could be updating a call or getting a call. I could update an agent that's taken the call, whatever it may be. And then you could search for calls in a range of dates. So if I wanted to search calls between the last 3 days, um, I might find certain information. Now the thing that's interesting about this is I might find that they have 3 calls. I might find that they have 2 tickets from ServiceNow. I might find, so this table, the call history table, like I said, when a call is made, there is user profile, customer profile information. There is information pertaining to the tickets they have open. So this call history access pattern, like I said, it could get more, you could have more rows here and start going a little bit gonzo with this thing, but just simply put, we're just looking at call history here. And let's see. So now, what I'm going to do in my next video is I'm going to look at NoSQL Developer. I'm going to look at DynamoDB console, and I'm going to try a couple of things and that I'm going to be unhappy with, and then I'm going to finally go directly to a single table design which uses primary key and sort key, and I'm going to fill in these data rows. And what I'm going to look at those composite keys as, oh, I got agent composite keys, I have customer composite keys, I have queue composite keys, I have call history composite keys. And whenever I want something, I could query on and sort on these particular keys. And like I said, um, if you went to a contact center that's implemented here or there, you might find out they did a lot of things wrong. But it's still functional. It might be wasting money and time, and who knows what's happening. But I do know that these things get pretty large. Now let's go one step further. There is some access patterns that we didn't talk about. One was exporting data for analytics. Right now, you could run a batch job to export the data. Run a Lambda that's scheduled, it exports data, writes it to S3 bucket, whatever it may be. And that could trigger something, get it into Snowflake, whatever it may be. Um, but I saw a struggle importing data for new customers. Now, the thing is that when you import data into DynamoDB, you're in a particular environment. And so if you import something that's not environment specific, it has nothing to do with the development environment, it's just users, then you could load that data into DynamoDB. And and yes, you then want to figure out how do I take all my users and roll them into QA. So I might need to have a file for QA and load those users. So the big struggle here is understanding the access patterns, because if you understand the access patterns, what are we going to be importing here? What are we changing that's so important? It could be that if an agent is in a queue with a profile which associates him with the queue, it could be he could be in a different queue, and or you want to change his queue out in production, or you want to change the priority of the queue, or whatever it may be. So there could be a lot of things that you could do. So typically, what you see is this React application front-ending this DynamoDB data, and you could configure things uh, that you want to configure in production to change behavior. And once again, things get very complex because once I change it, is it going to be overwritten? Is it changing in QA? Is it changing in dev? This same old software development lifecycle issues that might come up. So these are things to think about. And I seen in one of my Connect projects, I seen a Python code turn into a Node code, turn into a something else. And it's true that one of the things about DynamoDB is and I'm going to say this gently. It's not really headless content management system. You could build a headless content management system, but a content management system would not only take the schema, it would generate the APIs so you can call the APIs and have the data pushed to different environments with the API. This is sort of similar. Typically, what people do, though, is they load data into DynamoDB in development, load it in testing, load it in production, and the files might be different that they import it, that they're loading, and it takes time to load the files, and there's just a lot of issues that come around. So, my last comment about this is um, DynamoDB is powerful with custom application development, and you could always use it and do it, but please make sure that you need it and there's no other way to do it before you actually implement it. And my word of advice is don't put anything in DynamoDB that's environment specific, because then if you take the data, export it and push it in, export the data from dev and push it into QA, then you have the wrong data in QA. And we went through this several times with another company I worked for, so I see it all the time. So whenever you see something in DynamoDB that doesn't move from one environment to the other, always question it, right? Um, anyway, that's all we wanted to say. So we're just going to end this video now. Thank you.